The quarterback situation for the New Orleans Saints is heating up, and we'll break down what it means for their offense long term. And then we're going to tell you why 2025 is the year of Keon Coleman. Coming up next.
You are Locked On NFL Draft, your daily podcast covering the NFL Draft. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome back to the Locked On NFL Draft Podcast, your daily podcast covering your favorite draft prospects, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. I'm your boy, Damian Parson. I'm an NFL draft analyst with Bleach Report. That's my guy, Keith Sanchez. He's a director of scouting with the Draft Network and 2019 national champion with those LSU Tigers. And as always, thank you for making Locked On NFL Draft your first listen today and every day. Shout out for being our everydayers, guys. We're talking some training camp news. The Saints have themselves a quarterback battle on their hands between Spencer Rattler, second-year quarterback out of South Carolina, and then this year's 40th pick in the second round, Tyler Shough. We're going to talk about Keon Coleman's second-year leap for the Buffalo Bills and that New England Patriots wide receiver room. They added Kyle Williams in the 2025 NFL Draft, but their second-round pick from 2024 might be on the roster bubble. We'll get into all of that in just a moment. But before that, today's episode is brought to you by Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use the code Locked On NFL for $20 off your first purchase. But yeah, Keith, the New Orleans Saints right in your backyard are entrenched in a quarterback battle with Spencer Rattler and Tyler Shough. And I think we kind of called this after the draft during like rookie OTAs. Was like, I think the consensus thought was Spencer Rattler was a 5th round pick. Kellen Moore, new head coach, new coaching staff, new regime, came into the Saints organization this year and was going to start the guy they drafted. Like that was a given. Well, we kind of told everybody just pump the brakes a little bit. You're going to have to deal with a battle. And so far, just kind of reading the tea leaves and the reports, it's been back and forth, but Spencer Rattler's taking, I think, majority of the first team reps. I know yesterday, Ross, our guy Ross Jackson, I believe, tweeted out that starting a practice yesterday on Monday that Tyler Shough was taking first team reps to start the actual team period and stuff like that. But Keith, when you look at this battle, how do you foresee this playing out? Because I think it's he's one of the reporters, Chris Voglu. I believe I said it right. The Ross Voglu report on Twitter. He put this quote out. He said, last year, Spencer Rattler dealt with a coaching change, lackluster supporting cast. He's got a ton of QB1 reps so far. Maybe he has the slight edge right now. Can he hold Shough off? When you hear things like that, Keith, what goes through your mind?
Yeah, exactly what I thought was going to happen. And the fact is that we've said this. I mean, and we talked about this, this was last year when Spencer Rattler was drafted, right? And this was, was at the Draft Network, and we had the conversation. We was doing the post-draft videos, and we was like, I thought Spencer Rattler could potentially be the steal of the draft, right? Him going all the way in the 5th round. But then having the discussions with you, right? We talked about that this will be a QB battle, right? Like that Spencer Rattler is way more talented than a 5th round pick, and everybody kind of needs to be like aware, right? That this is not just, hey, we drafted this guy, Tyler Shough, in the 1st round, and he's just going to walk away with it. Because that, like, when we look at Spencer Rattler's profile, DP, there's multiple elements of it, right? That if he was once considered a 1st round pick, that means he has the arm talent, right? And that's one thing that we all love, especially in the draft community. Does he have velocity and arm strength, right? He definitely has that. And then now you look at the situation, he's a second year. He's going into his second year. He has a year of experience, right? He has a year of experience. He knows how it is to start at, just start overall. And I had an opportunity to talk with him during the Super Bowl. I did an interview with him. And this is a guy that it seems, DP, he's in a good mental space, right? Like he's at peace with where he's at, meaning that for the first time in his career, he doesn't have a lot of pressure, right? And this was a guy that since he was 16, 17 years old, he was the star of a Netflix series, right? And then, you just have all of these different things going on. So I'm excited about it. And you talk about Tyler Shough, the prospect, he's big, he's athletic, he can move, he can do different things. So from a draft lens, I think we're looking at 2 prospects, DP, that when we watched both of them, and they're not in the same class, but watching both of them, my walkaway from both of them was these guys could be NFL starters. And I think that's why this is a QB battle, is because both of these guys could be NFL starters.
100%. And I think, if you remember the scenario we threw out, a couple months ago after the draft, during, I think, rookie minicamp and everything, when Tyler Shough was there, we said, listen, it's a lot easier to start Spencer Rattler, the 5th round pick, and go to Tyler Shough later in the season if it's not working, rather than start Tyler Shough. Let's say you go 0 for 5 in your first 5 games and say, hey, guys, we're going to go to Spencer Rattler. You can't – there's certain things you can't do. You can't start the rookie, the one that you gave the high – you get top 40 pick. He was the 40th pick in the draft, number 40. You spent that capital on him and start him and then bench him. You're going to have to start him throughout the season no matter how bad he's playing. You can't really tell a fan base – well, I mean, maybe you could, right? We saw the Panthers do it with the first overall pick with Bryce Young. We saw the Colts do it with Anthony Richardson, where you can kind of get away with it, but it's not normal.
Yeah, you can get away with it from is it possible? Yeah, just bench him and then start him again, right? Like it's possible. Right. But the question is, how many times have we seen that be a successful recipe, right? Like how many success stories have we seen with the young quarterbacks finally get the opportunity to start, do bad, get benched, and then come back in and then go on to have really good careers, right? It's possible to play the yo-yo game with him, but will that be him? Because quarterbacks are so mental, DP. Like so much of it is from the neck up as far as, their confidence, right? Like when you have 0.3 seconds to rip a ball, through the seams, right? Like you have to have ultimate confidence in yourself. You can't hesitate and be like, man, if I make this throw, I'm gonna get benched, because then what's gonna happen? You're gonna be a half a second late. The safety's gonna jump it again, and then now you're definitely going to the bench, right? You're definitely on your way to the bench. So, it's a lot, but I think it's the Saints QB battle. While the Saints are not a premier market, right? Like they're not the big market teams, the New Yorks, the Dallas, the Phillies, San Fran, things like that. This will be one of the more fun things to pay attention to if you're a true NFL fan, and especially coming from the NFL draft space, because these are two prospects. And what I think about the Saints is I just thought that we go back to the draft for the Saints. I wonder if they knew, DP, how talented Spencer Rattler was, because if they did, would you necessarily put yourself in this position, or do they feel like they have nothing to lose? Because what if it's close and then you finding out week 8 and you're trying to juggle between Spencer Rattler and Tyler Shough? Or what if Spencer Rattler plays better than Tyler Shough? Then what do you do, right? Like you kind of put yourself in a crazy, like it's an interesting situation when you look at it through a draft lens of, man, okay, we executed that, but Spencer is good enough. And then you're talking about having fans at training camp. Fans are going to see this, right? The reporters are reporting this like, hey, that Spencer guy is pretty good. But then also looking at Tyler and say, hey, we spent the top 2nd round pick on him. We expect him to play. I wonder how this is going to unfold, because it can provide multiple different layers to where, like, oh man, like we kind of just drafted ourselves a situation.
Without question. That's exactly what they did, because like it's like you see the reports that Rattler's throwing, like I think it was like maybe a 3rd and long in camp in one of the recent practices a couple of days ago, and they say he threw like an absolute dime to convert and keep the drive going. And I'm like, it was like the vibe is that his confidence looks totally different from him being a rookie, which typically kind of is the situation. And he's a really competitive kid, like young man. So like, okay, you brought in a 2nd round pick and everything. I'm planning on coming out here and making this a difficult conversation for you and a difficult decision, right? But then on the flip side, I've seen the clips of Tyler Shough in 11 on 11, and he threw a absolute dime to like Juwan Johnson on the left sideline on like a deep crossing route. And he like layered it over multiple defenders. I'm like, yeah, there's a reason he went to the Saints at top 40. So this, as a 40th pick, this is going to be a very interesting battle, because once this battle is for sure going to go into not just training camp, but now that we're in it, into preseason and seeing, okay, who, when they get the chance on the field, who plays well. Because at the end of the day, Keith, to your point, if Spencer Rattler beats out Tyler Shough and then Spencer Rattler balls out during the regular season, You have to look at yourself in the mirror and say, you know, we could have used that pick on Trey Harris, rounded out our wide receiver room, get a 6'4", 6'3", 200-pound wide receiver to go with Rashid Shaheed and Chris Olave and Juwan Johnson and everything else. We could have rounded this team out a little bit better than going to get a quarterback when we already had one on the roster. But if it don't work out, you can go ahead and flip your hand, put your guy in, Tyler Shough, and then see what happens.
Yep, with DP, I'm with you that this QB battle can go into the preseason. The one thing it can't do, can't go into the season. If you still have a QB battle in the season, you have a problem on your hands. New Orleans Saints. With DP, let's keep this thing going and flowing, man. We are talking about Mr. Keon Coleman. Will he have a year 2 leap? Will he take off with Josh Allen, Buffalo Bills offense? Let's talk Keon Coleman, year 2 leap, coming up next.
We've all been there, logging on early and waiting for forever for concert tickets to go on sale, only to lose your spot for a show you've been dying to see. Chris Brown, Usher, Beyonce, you name it. Live music should be about making memories and not dealing with the stress of ticket shopping. That's where Game Time comes in. Game Time makes getting concert tickets faster and easier than ever. Prices actually drop as it gets closer to showtime, and you can save up to 60% off with their killer last-minute deals. And if you're tired of endless scrolling, trying to find the best deal, Game Time Zone Deals pick the best seats in your section for you. Take the guesswork out of buying concert and show tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use the code LOCKEDON NFL for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account, use the redeem code LOCKEDONNFL for $20 off. So download Game Time today. Last minute tickets, lowest prices guaranteed. Is year 2 for the Buffalo Bills going to be the year of Keon Coleman? That's what Buffalo Bills fans are hoping to hear. I think he, like, early in training camp, I think the first day or so, he had some drops, or they didn't really complete some of the plays and different things like that. But after that, like, seems like he's picked it up, and he's coming off a season last year, Keith. He played 12 games. He played 13, started 12, caught 29 of his 57 targets for 556 yards, 4 touchdowns. He averaged 19 yards per reception. And I mean, like, all the advanced metrics is plus. His completion percentage over expectation plus 2.4%. His ability to create yak was there. Air yards per target, he was averaging a first down and a half, 15 and almost 15 and a half yards down the field per target. And he averaged about 2 yards of separation when he was targeted. So the narrative that he couldn't separate at all coming out of Florida State seems to have been false. Is he going to separate like Ladd McConkey? No, like, we got to put separation into a more context. Like, I don't expect a 6'3", 215-pound receiver to separate the way Julian Edelman separated. Like, that's right. But I also expect Julian Edelman to catch back shoulder fades on the outside. Like, you know what I mean? Right. Like, it's just different. So, but everything that's come out so far right now has been positive for Keon Coleman, that he looks like he's gearing up for another step this year. And everything, and him and Josh Allen have been connecting more and whatnot. So I'm excited for what Keon Coleman is going to become, because in the short to intermediate, he's getting separation, and they're using him, especially in the short to intermediate, across the middle of the field, letting him be a big body threat there, doing some of the dirty work that Khalil Shakir and Dalton Kincaid more than likely won't do, is to work the middle of the field between the numbers. You need that physical pass catcher to do those type of things. We've seen it with the Deebo Samuels. Heck, you look at San Fran, Juwan Johnson, right? Now, 2 different caliber players, him and Keon, but you need guys that can live in that region where the linebackers roam, where the safeties roll down, like guys that are not afraid to get dirty, get physical, and get a little grimy in there. It looks like Keon Coleman, we already know one thing, Keith. He made multiple big-time grabs. I can't remember which game it was, but like, he mossed like 3 defenders in the back of the end zone for a touchdown on the scramble. We know the ball skills, the leaping ability, those type of things are going to be routine for him. Now it's going to be consistently separating, making plays all over the field, and I think he might be heading in that direction.
Yeah, so this with Keon Coleman, I think he will have a year two leap. And there's two different aspects of this that you have to look at, right? You have to look at the prospect, but then you also have to look at the team. And what I mean by that is that throughout the draft process, the Buffalo Bills felt as though they got to know Keon Coleman as well as they could, right? But that's still in limited interactions. Now, let's take this a step further, right? Now we're in season and we're learning who Keon Coleman, the player, is even more because he's in our building every day. So what I foresee, DP, is that cool. I went back to the film. If I'm the Buffalo Bills coaching staff, where did Keon Coleman have success? What routes? How do we feed him the football? Different things like that. Instead of kind of fitting him into our offense and say, hey, we need a number one and we need you to do this. Hey, you still need a number one, but play to more of what his strengths could be as a player, right? And I think they can understand that. And they have that familiarity, right? Like he's not a rookie anymore. He's going into his second year. So he understands what he needs to do. And I think if he understands what he needs to do, the coaching staff understands where they need to place him, it can take off. And I know the one thing, DP, that everybody, because this was the biggest thing, you talked about it, separation and speed, right? Well, listen, you have Anquan Boldens, you got Brandon Marshalls, right? Like, like just having speed to have speed is not the answer. And I always say this, yeah, you got guys that go nowhere really fast. They run right into coverage and they just do it faster than what you do, right? That's how I look at it. So I'm excited about Keon Coleman. I think also another thing, DP, that last year version of the Buffalo Bills offense was a version that we've never seen before, right? Like the explosion of James Cook in the backfield, and I'm talking about not traits, but as far as production, right? Like that was by far his best year in the NFL. And I think now it's like, okay, we know we having James Cook. We know we have, I just expect everything to be more well-rounded when it comes down to the overall situation with Keon Coleman, with Josh Allen, right, in their relationship. So I'm expecting a big year too.
Keith, and to your Josh Allen point, I have a quote from Josh Allen a couple of days ago in an interview on NFL Network. He says Josh Allen is confident in second-year wide receiver Keon Coleman. He said, yeah, if teams want to play post high, we've got an absolute beater on the outside there that can go one-on-one. He's got so much potential and he's so smart. And then they had practice, I believe it was maybe this Saturday or Sunday, and it was like raining and everything. And they were talking about, I think, Alex Brasky on Twitter, they were talking about how basically he had a day. And he's like, when it rains, Keith, you can't really wear gloves and things like that. And he's out there just snatching passes, on high pointing above defenders. And that's what I think. I believe the year two leap is here as well, simply because of the fact of we just saw Josh Allen said they get the run game going. I think Joe Brady's still calling plays. Was this about to be year two in Joe Brady's system, if I remember correctly, year 2 or 3?
Yeah, I think 2. Yes, I want to say 2 to 3. Is it 2.5? I feel like last year was his first year.
Because he took over like halfway through the
year.
Yeah,
I think so. Yeah, I want to say that's what happened. Yep, I want to say.
So this would be like Josh Allen's like year 2.5, and then year 2. This would be the second year for Keon Coleman. I think with everything else around them, Keon Coleman's the perfect complement to Kincaid, to Shakir. They brought in Elijah Moore, who was with the, I think, Browns and Jets, and his versatility as a space player, right? Like the motion guy, the manufactured touches, the route running, the speed and explosiveness. And I think we always talk about it, and you always said it. On 3rd and 5, do I have the guy that can run the slant? Keon Coleman is the guy that can run the slant. And I think people forget how good he is after the catch. This is a former punt and kick return at 6'3", 210 pounds, 215 pounds. This is a guy that can absolutely like kick it into full speed, get up to full speed in space quickly, and he's very difficult to bring down. So I think for him, it's similar to like Xavier Legette last year. Some of those contested catches, like especially when you're battling injuries and stuff, it isn't as easy as it looked. You made it look in college, but once you get the NFL game down pack and the physicality that comes with playing in the NFL down pack, yeah, it can be very, very difficult for guys like this once they kind of start reaching their potential. Because as a cornerback, when you're one-on-one on that island and Josh Allen throws that back shoulder fade and Keon's able to stop and hold his body and catch that for a 15-yard gain on 3rd and 10, Like, that's demoralizing. You know what I mean? That's one of those, I can't give up a 3 and you give up a 3 at the end of the shot clock. Like, that's one of those plays you don't want to allow as a corner. And then next thing you know, the offense is starting to roll. And I would not be surprised we get to the end of the season and he's the most impactful offensive weapon for Josh Allen by the time the season end comes. And everybody's like, man, we might have been a little harsh on the young man coming out of Florida State. And I was like, listen, we're all wrong at some point in life. You know what I'm saying? So just own it. But nah, I'm excited for Keon. I think him and the way that Josh Allen speaks about him. Yeah, Sean said, listen, you want to play post high? Fine. I got a guy who can go one-on-one, and I'm comfortable with that. And when a quarterback of that ilk speaks like that, it should make waves in the fan base.
Yep. 100% with DP. Let's go to New England, man, and talk about the Patriots wide receiver room because they've been drafting them, right? They've been drafting wide receivers, trying to figure out how do we boost this wide receiver core. Let's talk about some of these draft prospects, man, the guys they drafted over the last few years and how it will impact this wide receiver room for the New England Patriots. Let's talk about that coming up next.
This episode is presented by Yahoo Fantasy. Fantasy football is back. Fire up the group chat, get your draft board ready, and buckle up for a season filled with breakouts, busts, and all the overreactions we live for. It's all going down on Yahoo Fantasy. And this year, me and the Locked On NFL Draft podcast are playing on Yahoo Fantasy, and you should too. If you're a first-timer or if you are a veteran making your millionth league. To celebrate 28 years of fantasy greatness, Yahoo Fantasy is dropping 28 big new features over 28 days, giving you more ways to play, more ways to draft, and more ways to win. And it all begins on August 4th. So stay tuned and get started by creating or joining a Yahoo Fantasy Football League at yahoofantasy.com/lockedonnfl. That's yahoofantasy.com/lockedonnfl. And let's make this fantasy football season the best one yet. Thank you for making Locked On NFL Draft your first listen today and every day. Shout out for being our everydayers. The New England Patriots, man, they drafted Drake May with the 3rd overall pick in the 2024 NFL Draft. Sat him for half of a decent portion of the season. Let him come in. Did not have a lot of talent around him, but he showcased the flashes of why he was a top 4 pick in the NFL draft. And this offseason, they said, let's go get Stefan Diggs. Coming off of ACL, we believe, do all the medical background stuff. Let's do that, right? They brought in, drafted our guy, Kyle Williams out of Washington State and everything. And right now, through reports, it looks like their wide receiver situation will look like Pop Douglas in the slot, who's kind of becoming a fan favorite over there in New England. Mm-hmm. Stefan Diggs, kind of like at that X as the number 1 outside guy. And then, or Z, if I remember correctly, then Kayshon Boutte is actually in the lead to be the starting X receiver. And him and Drake May had really good chemistry down the stretch last year. The crazy thing is, Keith, Jalen Polk, who's a really talented receiver, come out of Washington State. And I feel like it's not because of his skill set. I feel like this is more of a button heads type situation with the new regime that there's New England Patriots reporters saying he might be on a roster bubble. And I'm pretty sure they drafted him 2nd round last year.
Yeah. So you said a lot. Where do I want to start, DP? Okay, so let's start at the top, right? Stefan Diggs, we know who he is, Pro Bowler, XYZ. Kayshon Boutte, I think him being a starter and finally hitting his stride. This is year 3, I think, going into year 3 for him. Him hitting his stride, I think, may have caught some people by surprise just because it was such a decline from where he was, right? That usually you don't see young men pivot, right? And it starts to go back up. Usually when you see that decline in their, how do I want to put it? And just their overall career trajectory, right? Whether it be injuries, whether it be off the field concerns, and Kayshon, it wasn't injuries. It was kind of more of just a mixed bag of small things, but right, you know, 10 dimes make a quarter. Make a dollar, right? and I think that's how that kind of came off. So I'm excited to see that because if they could get the Kayshon Boutte or any version of the Kayshon Boutte that was once viewed as a 1st round pick and wide receiver 1 in the NFL draft, then you have a step in the right direction, right? And maybe the
Yeah.
presence of having a veteran like Stefan Diggs is helping Kayshon Boutte out. Then you go to Pop Douglas, right? And I know he's a guy that you like coming out of the draft a few years ago, right? You always felt like he was shifty, explosive, things like that. So I think that's like a check mark there. Going into the second tier of this wide receiver room, Kyle Williams. He's a guy that people should be on the lookout for. I thought this guy was savvy. I thought that he
Yep.
understood football. I thought he was a high IQ player. I thought he was a smooth route runner. He understands how to get open. And I'm going to use this comparison to help make my transition to the next guy. The conversation coming out of University of Washington was Jalen McMillan or Jalen Pope. You know, I was always a Jalen McMillan guy. When we talked about it, I'm like, DP, I'm telling you, he just understands it. Like when you watch it, you see that he just understands football. And you see that he was taking those steps with the Tampa Bay Bucks this past year. Now you look at Jalen Pope and the high level athleticism, things like that is just, okay, we need to get the IQ down, right? Like, and make sure that you're in a good spot. And this is where you talked about the reports of him being on the roster bubble. And it's probably because of the guy that we just talked about, Kyle Williams, coming in there and taking a step forward, right? Like, and then because that's already wide receiver 4. So now you're battling guys. I think like Kendrick Bourne is still on this roster also. So
Javon
you're battling.
Baker's still there.
Yeah, Javon Baker was another guy that we really liked. I could see it because when it comes down to filling out that wide receiver 3 to 4, that's a highly contested battle, DP. And you could be wide receiver 3 one day, and you can be wide receiver 7 the next day. So, because it's a lot there. But I think this battle for wide receivers and how this depth chart fills out is much similar to the Saints QB battle that we talked about at the top of the show, meaning that it's not highly contested and it's not popular and it's not big market names, but it's very competitive. And also some of these guys that may be cut or something like that, they're going to end up on another team and playing in the NFL this year.
Yeah, I think the report with Polk is that, I don't think he's missed 3 to, I think he's missed like the first couple days really of training camp due to like a minor muscle tightness situation. The team was so-called being cautious with them and everything like that. But I mean, right now he is fighting for a roster spot per reports. Excuse me. And when you have, like, they brought in Matt Collins, who, was good for the Buffalo Bills last year, right? A good veteran, great leadership. He's almost viewed as a lock just because of what he's going to be able to bring to special teams, the strength he's going to be able to bring at the wide receiver size at the wide receiver position, where a lot of the other guys outside of Polk, I think Matt Collins would be the biggest receiver they would have, because Boutte is like 6 foot. Diggs is like 5'11", you know what I mean? Kyle Williams is about 5'10", 5'11". Like, they have some under 6'1", a lot of under 6'1" receivers.
Yeah, I have a question. And I because I just thought of a couple things. What we should do is we should probably have like some QB conversation. And what led me to this is not right now. I think it'd be should for another episode. But what led me to this thought, DP, was looking at the competitiveness of this wide receiver room. I wanted to ask you, what do you think this is? Like, is this good on good? Is this iron sharpens iron? Are we looking at an average wide receiver room? Are we looking at a good one? Are we looking at a great one? Are we looking at a below average? Like, how do you view this wide receiver room?
I view it. I think this could be a good room. I think they got to find out who's going to make the roster. Like, I think they plan on carrying maybe up to 6 receivers on the active roster, and whoever's left, they probably try to throw them on the practice squad if they can clear waivers and stuff like that. I think it hinges on Stefan Diggs, number one, being healthy, being able to play Stefan Diggs caliber ball and be that number one option. And if he's good and ready to go, which the reports from camp looks like even though he tore his ACL last year, he's playing pretty well. And I think with him, you get Kyle Williams going, Boutte keeps pushing it, and Pop Douglas being kind of I think, be honest with you, what's going to end up happening, Diggs going to be 1A. I think Pop Douglas going to be 1B for them early, especially early in the season, with Boutte and sprinkle of Kyle Williams. And like I said, we'll figure out what's going on with Polk. So I think it's going to be a good group. I don't think it's I think this is a group that can play well, they win games, and still be in position to draft one of the top guys next year. Maybe 2 guys next year. Depends on if Baker's like the reports of Javon Baker and Jalen Polk are kind of working behind the 8 ball right now. Like I think Diggs called him out for a mistake, and it just hasn't for some of these young guys. It hasn't been great for them in year 2, especially with Mike Vrabel coming in with the new coaching staff. So it's a lot of stuff we got to get ironed out. Preseason is going to be big for this receiving room outside of Diggs. I think everybody else, they have a kid, I think it's an undrafted free agent. His name's Efton Chisholm III. And if Bill Belichick was there, he's probably the starter in the slot. Like he looks like the Welkers, the Edelmans, the Amendolas, that shifty, change of direction slot receiver that's going those choice routes, smart, intelligent, all of that. I wouldn't be surprised if he makes the roster and he gets in and gets some playing time. I'm looking forward to seeing him during preseason because I think he'll probably get a lot more burn in preseason than the guys who they expect to start.
Yeah, DP, I'll say this. Looking at this, and I agree with you, right, that this could be a good wide receiver room. And it's been a few years. They've been trying to I guess overturn this wide receiver room and get it to a really good spot, because we know just a few years ago it was probably like, hey, this might be the worst wide receiver room in the entire NFL. But I'll say this: if I'm one of these wide receivers agents, I am asking, hey, my brother, how many special team units are you on, right? Because you need to be on all of them. Go to kick return, punt return.
Make this roster.
Go be a gunner. I don't care. Go do it. If you got to kick the ball, kick it, right? We're doing anything we need to do to be able to make this roster, to make sure you secure your spot. But DP, that wraps up another episode, man, of the Locked On NFL Draft Podcast. I want to end this podcast off by saying shout out to our everydayers. Thank you for tapping in with us each and every single day. Every listener is greatly appreciated here. I am Keith Sanchez. You can find me on X at The Talent Code. That right there is my guy, my co-host, Mr. Damian Parson. You can find him on X at DP_NFL. And like we like to say, man, y'all can talk to us because we like to talk back.
Go subscribe and follow for free on YouTube, wherever you listen to podcasts, to get the latest episode as soon as it is available. Coming up on tomorrow's show, we're going to talk about Cam Ward, the #1 overall pick. How is he looking in camp for those Tennessee Titans? And when will the Cleveland Browns, like Kenny Pickett's out with a little bit of an injury for a couple. When can we get Shedeur Sanders with some 2s and with the 1s? Let's move him up the depth chart. Let's see what he can do and make this a real quarterback battle. But we'll talk about all of that on tomorrow's show. So come and join the conversation again tomorrow on the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.